Hey Zwifters, I'm Simon Schofield and this is the Zwiftcast coming up on this episode. There's a rumble in the jungle and it's slowing everyone down and people aren't happy going slower. Want to work out or just ride with stronger or weaker mates and still keep it together? We've got a review of Zwift's latest feature. And virtue go is virtue gone. Can any of the rivals ever hope to live with the Zwift behemoth? We discuss. I am truly delighted to be joined by the regular crew, the sage of Wisconsin, no less. Nathan Garrett is on the cast. Yo, dude, how's it going?
The sage. I don't know what wizardry I'm bringing here, but I'm doing well here in Wisconsin. It starts snowing today, though, so it's Zwifting season.
Oh, snow. I don't like the sound of that. And over in the warm lands, the global god of tech that is GP Llama 1, Shane Miller, is dialed in from Melbourne. G'day, mate.
How are we doing? I'm glad to hear Nathan's got the snow because we've got the heat. I've just stepped in from a 30°C ride. I am absolutely cooked. I needed a couple of those headwind fans outdoors today that weren't as hot as the headwind that I had.
Yeah. Well, over here in the UK, we're kind of somewhere in the grey, mushy, moist middle as usual, neither hot nor cold. But there we are. That's our little weather chat. We've not done one of those for a while. I'm sure people appreciate our little weather chat. So let's kick off with something relevant, actually. And let's kick off with the new version of an age-old question. It has always been. It's the law. It's always been Kickr versus Neo. Yeah, that old chestnut. But for now, those with deep pockets, there is a new burning question. Well, there will be eventually when you can actually buy the damn things. But let's just get on with it. And that, Shane, is KickrBike or NeoBike. I mean, I know we talked about this last few eps, but it is incredibly of interest to lots of people. I think both of the smart bikes have now been in the depths of the Llama Lab for some little time, and you're one of the very, very few people in the world to be in that position. So I'm thinking we've kind of given you long enough to answer the big question, or at least begin to form an opinion. So let's have it, Shane Miller, KickrBike or NeoBike?
This is the same as the Kickr versus Neo. I need to make T-shirts with this on it. Kickr versus Neo, Neo versus Kickr, Team Kickr, Team Neo. There's no right answer here. So let's get that straight out right now. There's no clear winner overall. However, let's look at the front end of the bike. And the Kickr, hands down, wins the KickrBike for the shifting, the shifters, and the front end setup of the bike. That's no question about it. And then when it comes to the tilt, well, obviously the KickrBike wins there as well. But people love that Neo feel, that virtual flywheel, that on top of the gear. And this is the Neo 2T, which even has more bite into it with the Neo bike. So it's got a good ride feel on the Neo bike. It depends. You're asking at the front of the bike or the back of the bike or over. There's just no straight answer on this Kickr versus Neo question.
Both, well, yeah, I mean, that's always been the case, hasn't it? The thing is, if you go back to the trainer level, they're both absolutely outstanding trainers. I mean, each iteration brings its own little quirks, but they're both, you can't go wrong with either one of them. And I think you're probably saying the same thing about the bikes. The one thing, though, Shane, reading Ray's big comparison piece, which, as ever, was exhaustive and exhausting, and then just get longer and longer, his post. But the one thing that caught my eye was both of them have this very wide top tube, which for those of us with, shall we say, chunky thighs, yeah, it's a bit of a worry, that, isn't it?
Yeah, look, absolutely. This is something that I've been looking into. Now, the KickrBike for me, I was just touching on the bottom, like at 6 o'clock each leg. If I was just slowly pedaling, very lazy pedaling, I just touch. I wouldn't be a brush. If it was a brush, it'd be a showstopper for me. The NeoBike, I'm sort of touching on two places for now. I haven't tweak the setting just yet because the seat collar is a little wider. But yeah, this is a downfall. And I've contacted both companies about this, both Tax and Wahoo, and they said, yeah, we're aware of this. It affects a small percentage of users. We were aware in development, but this is what we've gone with. Yeah, I think it's going to affect more people than probably what both companies expected it would. That's why I've always finish up my summaries with, you're going to have to ride one of these yourself and try it yourself to see if you fit on one of these bikes. Bit of a concern. And I've been outside riding on my giant TCR bike with a super skinny frame, and I can't make my legs touch no matter what I do. So this is something that people will have to look at if they're looking at one of these bikes.
Yeah, well, you've got to ride it, and I think, Nathan, I would do that if I was spending 3,000 of whatever your currency unit of choice is. But, dude, I would be just a little bit fed up if and let's face it, if there's one bit of cyclists that is larger than the average, it's usually the thighs. I'd be a bit annoyed, Nathan, wouldn't you, if I'd spent $3,000 and my thighs were touching the top tube?
A little bit, I think so. I mean, that's interesting. That at the same time, okay, on the mountain bike, I've had a couple of mountain bikes where that happened. It didn't bug me too much, but I don't know if that's a mountain biker thing or what. That's like the top tube's a little thicker on the mountain bike a lot of times, and when I was adjusting in lots of pain, once a time to get a little bit of rub. But from what Shane is saying, it sounds like it's a little bit more than what you would get even on a mountain bike. So interesting there. I have to disagree. The fact, like, I am surprised that Kickr put the same thing that they have in their regular Kickr into the bike, personally, only because for me, the Neo and the hardware that is in that trainer is just superior. And I'm like...
Actually, and Shane will be the referee on this. I don't think you're right there, mate. The Kickr is basically a Neo, isn't it, actually, in terms of the electromechanics.
Okay, so it's no longer a belt drive? Like, it's no longer...
Well, funnily enough, they're both belt driven and they're both very similar, but the flywheel and the way it samples the flywheel. So the one up the Neo had over the original Kickr, talking back for the direct drive trainers, is the Neo was sampled, I think, at 1,000 times a second. So that's why we can get road feel, and it can change the pedal stroke instantly, and had a few different modes. The Kickr could never do that because it was never that responsive. Now it is, because it's based on the same, I won't say same design or same tech, because it'll be a patent war, I'm guessing. The same shape.
It's the same basic idea, isn't it?
So there has been an upgrade, though, a major upgrade to the hardware in that trainer for the Kickr. Okay, gotcha. Well, then it's now at this point, I used to be all in on Neo. Okay. I mean, like, I was and now I got to go ride both of them. I definitely have to go ride both of them. The only thing is there's like a $500 difference, it looks like, or more, between Neo and the Kickr. And you can get a Neo for $500 cheaper, it looks like, USD.
Yeah, it comes down to what you get, what you pay for. Even looking at the Wattbike Atom, based on, well, I won't say a lot older stepper technology, with different gearing and no screen display of the gear changes. Then you step it up to the NeoBike, which doesn't have tilt, has a different shifting mechanism, not as much customization on the front. Then you step it up again with an extra $500. This is sort of within $500 increments or so. And then the KickrBike gives you tilt, full customizability, and levers that feel like Shimano Di2. My first ride on the KickrBike was just jump on and go. It felt like a bike. And that's a huge step up from a few of the others I've tried.
Yeah. I mean, that $500 basically buys you the climb built in. The extra $500 basically buys you the climb, doesn't it? I mean, I think what this discussion proves is, assuming anybody's ever going to be able to buy these things, and that is, is some time away, certainly for the KickrBike in North America, we are going to see a lot of discussion about the relative merits of these two things, assuming there's enough people who are actually going to put their hands in their pockets. I personally think there will be. And I'm sure we'll come back to that in a future episode or episodes. But interesting to get your early take on it, Shane, which was it's a bit of a repeat of the Kickr versus Neo argument, isn't it? Really, they're both good, and choose the one you prefer.
I'm on the fence. Still.
Okay, well, let's move on. Whatever your weapon of choice, smart bike, smart trainer, or rollers, you ain't going to be riding it on one of Zwift's rivals this winter. Danish domiciled, partly Australian based Virtugo was a kind of decent enough attempt at a virtual cycling platform, but it just never built any traction. And just as the new indoor season gets underway, Mick Rogers, the very, very amiable Australian former pro rider, announced it was all over. According to your pal Ray, Shane, Virtugo had just 1,000 active users. I mean, that's just not enough. It's not enough for anything, is it really, Shane? It's not enough to generate sufficient income. Each subscriber was only paying $6 a month, but maybe more importantly than that, it's not enough to give inside riders what they now want, which is company and a social experience.
Yeah, This was interesting news, but we haven't seen a lot from Virtua Go on the social side of things recently. They've had a few small releases. They've had Ghost Riders and things, but we just haven't seen the uptake that we've seen, especially back in the day with Zwift. So I guess stepping back from this, and I've heard a few times people saying this about Virtua Go and others, is that nobody can compete with Zwift and their marketing budget. But then if you back up a few years for where Zwift came from, the reason the three of us are sitting here is due to a company bringing a product to the market at just the right time with a quality that nobody had done before. So was it late 2014? I think it was. Zwift filled the gap that needed filling, and that was taking these indoor smart trainers, which did exist at the time, and did something exciting with them. At the time, Zwift was a game changer. And I think at the time, Zwift had less than 10 employees. And again, using the Wayback Machine, I don't recall Zwift spending a single cent on marketing for probably 12 months, maybe more. It was all organic. It was all online, social media, and people like the three of us just sharing the experience, doing what we loved on Zwift, just sharing the, oh my God, you've got to try this experience. It's such a game changer. And that got others in there as well. So look, to be honest, I can't shed a tear over a company who simply came along and attempted to replicate what Zwift already did without any real unique value proposition. Virtua Go timing, I think, was a bit wrong. Had they done it a year prior to Zwift, then they'd be in a very different position, and they would have had the eye of some venture capitalist funding. But back to my point about the marketing dollars, it's a timing thing and having a good product. And my closing statement, Your Honour, is that we're talking on a podcast, not on a Zoomcast. And the history there is the Zoom was released 5 years after the iPod's released. So I think these days, if the company's going to be successful these days, you've got to bring to market a product that doesn't just copy, but it has to be a breakthrough. And people are claiming, Virtua Go is probably a bit of an underdog. It's a bit of a sad story and get upset about that. But Virtua Go was likely conceived in a boardroom or a business meeting. Zwift, on the other hand, came from John Mayfield in his spare time at home. Zwift is the original underdog who succeeded.
It's an excellent point, that, Shane. I mean, I'd probably quibble that Zwift didn't spend a cent on marketing in the first 12 months. Actually, I think they did, but they spent it very wisely. But that, I mean, the bigger point, I think, Nathan, is one of the reasons for Zwift's success. I mean, there's lots of them, and they're reflected in the reasons for Virtua Go's failure as well, I think. But one of the reasons for Zwift's success was chemistry, actually. It was the chemistry between John Mayfield and Eric Min. John was like super brilliant genius at having a vision, and Eric is the consummate networker and a brilliant money raiser. And those two guys, I mean, there were two other founders as well. They did fly a little bit more under the radar, and they did bring a lot to it. But John and Eric, that chemistry, that kind of meeting of minds and sharing of skills. I mean, that accounts, I think, for a lot of Zwift success.
Yeah, 100% there, I think. I mean, John built something really, really cool, an opportunity, great opportune time, as Shane was saying. And then Eric really believes anything he's telling you. Like, I mean, he's like, and you can tell he really believes it. And you just want to, he's a great leader and you want to follow in some ways. And we're like, wow, that sounds amazing. So, I think he was the marketing team up front, so there's that reality too. I also think that there's this, if they would have done something really small and done it really, really well, like, and not tried to do so many things, like they had a lot of courses right up front. They had a lot of, like, I feel like they spread out the potential in too many different places, like try to do too many things rather than just do one thing really, really, really well.
Yeah, it's a great point. And Ray Maker made the same thing in his very good, as usual, very good piece on why it went. He used the phrase, they tried to boil the ocean, which I thought was a very good phrase, actually. They just tried to do everything. Shane, let's pull this back to Zwift, which is the reason why we're all here. I mean, whenever a competitor dies, it for whatever reason, it's generally not a good thing if you're interested in this space, is it, really? And a participant in this space and a paying subscriber in this space, because I think it's a cliche, but it's nonetheless true. Competition is good. It does keep the incumbents, the giants, the 800-pound gorilla, it does keep them on their toes a bit. I mean, how do you think this news would have gone down in Long Beach? Kind of, we don't care, or does it make their life harder or easier, do you think?
I think it would have been an eyebrow raise, and that's probably about it. Zwift is just pelotons ahead. in regards to the fundraising and the market share they currently have. If VirtuaGo had a value prop that was interesting, dangerously successful, let's think Trainer Road, for example, have a massive database of workouts and plans to follow, a massive following. If it was something like Trainer Road disappearing, then Zwift would be like, whoa, maybe not a direct competitor for the 3D world, which VirtuaGo was. But look, to be honest, I don't think VirtuaGo had any value prop that Zwift were worried about in one bit.
I agree. I think it would have been noted with passing interest and no more, really. Nathan, do you think one of the rivals, and they are at various different stages of development and with various different levels of interest, do you think one of them will ever emerge as a reasonable challenger to Zwift?
Well, what's on my mind right now is some challenges that are going on between Amazon and Microsoft in the gaming world right now. And I think it would need to be on the level of, hey, suddenly somebody as big as Microsoft is interested and starts saying, hey, we're going to throw, for those that might not know, in the streaming world, we just saw 3 of the biggest streamers that exist move from Twitch to Mixer. They probably got written a check. There's no public information as far as what they got paid just up front, but you can also subscribe to them for free for a month straight, which is a lot of money, huge amount of money, right? So Shroud, Ninja, and now Gathalion all have moved, and that's like tens of thousands of thousands. I mean, that's like 100,000 to 200,000 people moving over from one platform to another. And so that kind of numbers, maybe, I don't know, maybe I'm over exaggerating, 50,000 to 100,000, I'll say, but that's a lot of investment money that you'd have to just throw around. And it's like one of the biggest companies in the world, Microsoft, is taking interest. So I think at this level, at this point, that's the kind of competition. And I've said it over and over again. I'm not sure it's going to come from the ground up, like, unless it's super innovative, like Shane is saying. I think it'll have to be like, this is something we want to do too. And let's bring it in, at a competitive AAA game level. So I don't know, augmented realities, who knows, something that would really catch people in a new way.
For sure, it's got to be deep pockets, but it's got to be deep pocket. I mean, massively deep pockets, but it's got to be deep pockets allied with genuine innovation, something that is not just a copycat. I mean, that, and what that could be, nobody really knows. Well, look, this seems like an apposite point to play our annual guessing game on Peak Zwift. We do this most years, actually. I think we've done it the last 2 or 3. It shows how long we've been going, doesn't it? Are we getting stale? Are we getting stale, boys, doing this year after year?
It's still fun.
I don't know. It's still fun, exactly. So let's keep doing it. So the annual guessing game on Peak Zwift. This is very simple rules. Each of us has to guess what will be the highest number of concurrent users on the platform and when that might occur. Here's what we said last year. Peak Zwift, fellas. It came on a January Tuesday, around 2 weeks into 2019, and it was a little over 13,000 concurrent Zwifters, which just goes to show you should never change horse midstream. My initial guess was 13,500, as against Shane's just a shade over 11,000 and Nathan's 15,000. Shane, I remember you being low ball, as that clip just proved. Nathan was Mr. Optimistic, and I was somewhere in the middle, but I think I changed my mind halfway through after speaking to Eric Min, which was fairly typical of me, sitting on the fence and then moving towards the most likely outcome. Anyway, I should always win this game. I'm the host, for God's sake. So will all those millions the Big Z spent over summer with their massive ad campaign pay off this winter? Let's play the Peak Zwift guessing game. I'm going first. Sorry, lads, producer's prerogative, so you can just suck it up, buttercups. I'm saying we will have an increase of 5,000 concurrent Zwifters over last year. So that will give us a total of 18,000 Zwifters in the game, and that's both maps totaled up together, and that will happen on the second Tuesday in January. Nathan, step forward.
Oh, man. Okay. I'm going for the third Tuesday in January, and I will say 20,573.
Okay, 20,000. Well, I'm glad to say you are obviously by nature a sunny and optimistic person. And I'm glad to know you.
This is the year that it's gonna boom. I don't know if that's even a boom that much extra, but
I'm glad to be your friend. You're so sunny and optimistic. Meanwhile, Mr. Baldy in Australia generally a little more. I'm not going to say pessimistic. Maybe generally a little more reasonable in setting expectations. Let's use that cliche. Anyway, Shane, your turn.
Yeah, look, sticking with my theme, I wouldn't call this a low ball. Look, my theme of low balls is because I want it to exceed what I say, and it has all the time. So let's go with 16,666.
Ooh.
16,666 on the first Tuesday of January. People are going to get in earlier this year.
Okay, so you've gone 16.6. I've gone 18. Nathan, you had so many numbers in it. I can't remember, but it was north. It was north.
20,573. We're playing The Price is Right. Do you guys even know how to play The Price is Right? I mean, come on. I'm betting $1, and then it's going to be below everybody, and we're good to go.
I am US dollar.
I'm so bad with numbers.
Do you guys even know The Price is Right? Everybody in America is going, these guys don't know what they're talking about.
Higher, lower, and everyone. In fact, I used to work, strange enough, if you want a little diversion, I used to work at the TV studios. When I worked in TV, I used to work at the place where they made the British version of The Price is Right. And I don't know if I'm displaying trade secrets here, but they used to bust the audience in. And at that time, it was a kind of things. Shall I just say things were a little easier in the TV industry than they were now? And we used to have a subsidised bar on the premises for the use of the staff. And when they used to bust the audience in, they would just decant them straight into this bar and open it up for free. And shall I, shall I just say...
Get a little motivation going. Wow.
We need to do this for the Zwiftcast.
So when the audience was eventually admitted to the studio, having benefited from a completely free bar, can I just say their excitement levels about playing a game show were slightly higher than they might have been when they first arrived. It was always very...
The price was right. I mean, there we go.
Well, the price is free. That's always the right price, isn't it? Anyway, we really have diverged. But anyway, that was the Peak Zwift guesses. And we will obviously revisit it where I expect to be gloating over my fellow Zwiftcasters in total triumph, as I did last year.
Right on!
Well, let's move on to an issue that's provoked a little controversy, and a game update wouldn't be complete without that. I'm calling it the Rumble in the Jungle. We sort of touched upon this last episode, but it has been a bit of a developing story. So for those who haven't been following it, here's a quick upsum. The rolling resistance of dirt sections in Zwift has been changed, which basically means that dirt is slower for every bike except the mountain bike. Now, on short sections of dirt, kind of like through the marina, it's fairly inconsequential, actually. But on long sections of dirt, like the jungle, it has proved to be something of a big deal. How big? Well, speeds are being cut by up to 5 miles an hour. Some people have reported even slower, but I'm not sure I believe that. But at least 5 miles an hour. And this has had consequences. So a bit of a long list, this. Bear with me. But let's look at some of the consequences. People are saying that their old stats on the jungle are now meaningless. They'll never be able to beat their old PBs or use old PBs in any meaningful way to measure effort. That's one point. People are saying it's fair enough to increase the rolling resistance of dirt, but it's been overdone. It's like cycling in sand, not hard-packed dirt or gravel. That kind of summarises a common reaction. That's point 2. Point 3 is that people are saying that group rides and races have become very difficult, and this is because some riders have updated, meaning they're slower on dirt and some haven't, making them faster, so the groups just blow apart. That's point 3. Losing count. There's only 2 more. People are saying that it might be fair enough to reflect the different rolling resistance of different surfaces in the game, but they just don't want to be messing about with selecting the right bike and or tyres. They just want to get on the game and ride. These people are saying they're just not going to ride the jungle section, which would be a shame. And people are also saying that they need to complete the steering challenge to get the mountain bike, which is the best bike for the gravel section or the dirt sections. But either they might not want to do that or they don't have the right setup to do it. So, phew, breathless. I mean, that is quite a long list. Have I missed anything off that list, Nathan? I hope not.
I don't think so. Besides that, we have seen some videos of people switching bikes, and that's pretty cool that we're back to the bike swaps, the first bike swap we ever saw completed was at the top of the KOM. The tower. It was at the top of the tower. It was then the charity, it was what 3R was, but before they were 3R, they were World Bicycle Relief, and before they were World Bicycle Relief, they were the Z. It was the Z, the Polys, whatever. So anyways, Team Z was running a big race, and Kim Little and Casey Shum did a bike swap, and they had hotkeys set up for it, and they just pushed one button, and bam, they swapped bikes, and John Mayfield was like, we can't let that happen. and then he made it so that you had to like actually stop, and you couldn't just swap bikes while rolling, or maybe he did that before. But anyways, they had a hotkey. They stopped at the top, and then they were able to go down way faster on the TT bike, and they won the race maybe or whatever. So bike swapping's a thing again, which I think is cool personally. For all of these points, I'm just kind of like, okay, there's legacy Strava trails. Like there's lots of trails locally here that got changed, and I can't get that KOM anymore, and whoever had it will have it forever because there's trees there now. So, okay. I think that it's kind of cool that things are changing in Zwift as far as that goes. And those are just legacy PBs and you get new ones. Fair enough. Yeah. Rolling resistant on dirt overdone. I don't know. Is it really deep? Maybe it is kind of sandy dirt. I mean, have you ever tried like riding a road bike on dirt versus a mountain bike? It's pretty fast, the mountain bike compared to your road bike, unless we're talking, I don't know, like, I guess.
This is when we get into what kind of dirt is it?
Yeah.
On a kind of visual look, it looks like in game, it's that kind of hard packed gravel, which is, I actually quite frequently ride a road bike on that kind of stuff because when I ride out in Spain, there's a whole network of those paths, and I sometimes use a couple of them over 5, 6, 8, 10 miles to get into the city because it beats a lot of traffic. And I have to tell you, it's not a great deal slower than tarmac. So, Shane, have they overdone it, do you think?
Oh, first of all, I've got to say #Dirtgate. That was this week's scandal on Zwift. The week before that, there was something happening with British cycling. The week before that, there was something else. I can't wait for next week. What's going to come up on the cards? Look, for me, this makes Zwift more realistic. Whether they've overdone it or not, I don't know. It's a bit of fun. Look, I rage quit at one point because I was testing this exact update, but it hadn't had the update pushed. So I did 225 watts in the jungle circuit on the Tron bike, then on the mountain bike, and there were it wasn't as different as what I thought until the next update came along and then did fix it. So I think here, this is just teething problems of the update getting rolled out. Once everybody is on the same code base and has the same disadvantage or advantage depending on what your bike you're on, there's not a problem here. It's kind of funny because people are saying that I ride Zwift for the realism, not for the cartoon Halloween costumes or this or that, and then so Zwift make it more realistic, and people are like, I hate it being realistic, I want it to be more unreal. You can't please everyone. Look, I like it. This opens up for things like different bikes in the future, for trails or for gravel rides or something like that. You don't want people ripping past on a Tron bike. It's not real. So I'm all for it, but the rollout was a bit dodgy.
It's funny you should say that, and I take the point about bike swapping, Nathan. Eric, our friend at Zwift Insider, did some tests, and he reckons you can do it in as little as 20 seconds. And the time lost on dirt, it would be a benefit to change bikes. There's a hassle factor in that, and if this is going to be a thing, I don't know why John hasn't built a great big bike park actually at the entrance to the jungle section, which would be really cool. Those places, things you get at Sportives where you drop your bike off, or what's that strange sport that people do involving running and swimming? Try.
I thought you were going to say cyclocross.
Triathletes. I think they're called.
Try something.
Strange people. Anyway,
they go somewhere with a K. I don't know. There's like volcanoes and it's hot. I don't know. It's kind of weird. They like to suffer more than
Tony. 2012. Tony.
I know they don't wear socks. How can you live in a world where you don't wear socks to ride a bike? Anyway, let's not upset respect to our triathlete friends, really.
We love them.
We do love them. We love them greatly. I just don't know why they can't ride a bike and stop all the whole running and swimming thing. But but anyway, there we go. No, so I did talk to John about this. I did that thing, boys. You'll be pleased to hear me say this. I reached out to John. I can't believe I'm using those words. I contacted John and asked him for a bit of input into this. And he did say, well, look, I was going to write a blog post about this anyway, so why don't you look at that and you'll get my thoughts. And that's exactly what he did. And he wrote something on the forum. So for those who've not seen it, this is what John said. But to your point, Nathan, he hinted very strongly that we are going to get gravel bikes, cross bikes, and even fat bikes coming to Zwift, which is all very exciting. And he said, with that in mind, it was time to make dirt ride more like dirt.
We're going to go find the Yeti. We're going to go find the Yeti on the snow of the Alps. Oh my gosh. If we get fat bikes, it would be amazing to go riding through snow. Okay, go ahead.
Will he chase us on the downhill like ski free? I hope he chases us on the downhill and catches us.
Fat bikes have funny things on there. I saw one the other day. They're just so...
Some of the funnest racing I've ever done was on fat bikes.
Really?
So much fun. Because it's so... it's new. There's a lot of randomness to it so that you have to like adjust to really quickly. So like if you enjoy cyclocross racing, it's like stepped up cyclocross racing in some ways, especially in the mud. If you're in a cyclocross race and you have to really adjust on the fly a lot, especially with deep snow, it's pretty cool. I enjoyed it a lot. Floating through snow on a bike at high speeds is amazing. And then there's people all around you racing too. It's pretty cool.
Yeah, no, that sounds good. But don't they weigh like 3 tons, Nathan?
The ones we've built have been like 20 pounds. 20.
Really?
Yeah, if you get the right setup, you can get them really, really light. There's no suspension. So it's actually, you can get it down to like a hard, like as much as your full suspension bike, because the extra weight is just in the rubber. So you're go ahead.
Have you ridden one, Shane? I mean, they just look like motorbikes, but not like bicycles.
No, I haven't. No.
Yeah, you can tell the two roadies, can't you? John, back to John. John, he does concede that this change wasn't handled, in his word, gracefully. He said, the impact on group rides by different users updating at different times was, again, in his words, a poor job by Zwift. And this will be changed in the future, with some simple restrictions to ensure a more level playing field. I think what he means by that is you can't get into it. There will be, if there is an event, you won't be able to get into that event unless you're updated to the latest climate, which sounds very sensible to me. And that was his final thoughts, actually. He said, we'll ensure that everybody riding on events, specifically on the jungle circuit, will be doing so on the same class of bike, where, like a mountain bike, for instance. Okay, so Dirtgate. Overdone, I think you boys are saying. But Shane, the thing is that it was actually quite a big change, which impacted on people's experience and messed with their PBs. People don't like that. Do you think it...
People don't like change.
Well, people don't like change. No, but people do like improvement. But I mean, I guess the point is, do you think it could have just been communicated a little better to the community?
That's a good word. Yes, but look, I would have touched base. I wouldn't have reached out. I would have touched base with John. So that may have been a bit different. No, look, yeah, it would have been nice to send out a heads up. However, because as I said, people don't like change. Even if they had given people the heads up, it still would have caused Dirtgate. So this is a bit of a Band-Aid. Like, rip it off, get it done. Are we now on the new version for everyone? Okay, now everyone shut up and just ride. Mm-hmm. He's a dinosaur kid. Yeah. Go ahead.
Nathan, the opposite to communicating, every cough and spit of change, and spoon feeding people information. The opposite to that is, I think the word is discovery. And this is obviously a gaming thing, is that, you discover new features, you're not told about them. I guess that'd be the side of the fence you'd park your fat bike on.
I don't know. Easter eggs are one thing. Okay. You go and you find something that's cool. Things that are in any way competitive at all. PvE, PvP, PvP, PvE, which you can mix them all in some ways. They should be communicated, in my opinion. Like, if there's advantages to be gained and people in the game are going to be riding against each other and not know what's going on and why it's happening, that's really frustrating. Like, I'm actually all about, I personally have thought there's been too much discovery on the Zwift side of things up front, and that I've been asking for more in some of the releases as far as the nitty gritty of things. Like how things work and why.
That surprises me. I thought you'd been the other way, actually.
No,
but I mean, I think you're absolutely right when it impacts a group, for instance. So when Dirtgate first came up, there were people saying, "What the hell is going on? This guy's going, putting out less power than me and streaking ahead," and that was all that kind of differential updating of clients, and that was very confusing. But I'm kind of surprised that you think there's been too much discovery.
Yeah, I think I like discovery when it comes to like going and finding things that are like cool finds, but finding things that impact competition or impact the way that I earn things or things. I don't know. It's like, okay, like if I go to a KOM and everybody kind of knows the KOM is there, and then I do it a certain way, and then I get like some cool prize for it, that's great. Like I'm totally down with that discoverability when it comes to like, oh, you did something special and now everybody needs to go find that same thing that's special. But I'm mainly talking about like changes that have to do with competing against each other for different speeds or things like that can just be like, you don't know what's happening or why it's happening, and you're trying to race or you're trying to ride a certain KOM or whatever it might be, and you just get confused. That confusion doesn't help with gaming. You know what I mean? Like that's the main thing, is like, I don't know what's happening. I don't know why the input I'm putting in is failing. And since I can't change my strategy to beat the game, I just quit. If it feels unfair, then that's not gaming. That's just, it's unfair and I'm done.
Yeah,
so,
and then you end up with the jungle being just like deserted because people are confused or they can't be able to change bikes or whatever.
Yeah, so having more information then to not get confused, I think would be I think that's the defining factor. Will this cause confusion or will it cause excitement and exploration and curiosity? Like things that would cause curiosity and exploration, great. Things that just cause confusion in a competitive space, that's not good for anybody, in my opinion.
Yeah. Okay. Well, that's a nice cue. Actually, you've obviously been reading the script, Nathan. That's a nice cue into the next item, which is let's put Dirtgate to bed. I think that's a good response from John. Actually, I think it's a very reasoned response, and maybe this whole issue could have been avoided just with maybe a little bit of extra communication on exactly what was happening. But I think it will settle down. It will settle down. Talking of settling down, this is a very personal thing, and I might only be me. And I have to say, in my last couple of rides, I've not noticed it quite as much as I did on the ride that prompted it. But anyway, to quote James, that's the band, not the dude, "Oh, sit down, oh, sit down, oh, sit down, sit down next to me, sit down, down, down." Right. Okay, that's a clue. Honestly, I'm sure it's best that I don't sing that. But maybe you two should try.
I don't know this song at all. I don't even know what this is.
This is some rando UK band that we've never heard of, Simon. We've got it here in the script. I've got no idea what this is. Nathan, you?
All I see in the script is lyrics and this prompt to sing. And I'm like, I feel like I'm like out in the block being forced to do the Christmas carols with my family or something right now. Like, what are we doing?
You've never heard of Sit Down?
I played the song. No, I've never heard of it. I played it today. I'm like, what is this? Where's the chorus? Never heard.
I despair. In that case, I'm going to abandon this entire idea of getting you to sing it. You can't sing a song that you don't know. I'm sure lots of listeners will know this song anyway, so they can just imagine it. Probably avoid me getting these copyright problems anyway. It's a very convoluted introduction to this item, which is about this. Okay, so this is turning into a bit of a moancast, actually. And like I say, this might be just me, so I'm hoping you two can help me with this. But there's been another change to the game, okay? previously, if your cadence dropped, I think it was 70 RPM. I'm almost sure it was 70. It might have been 60, but I'm pretty sure it was 70. Anyway, that was the threshold for deciding whether your dude stood up or sat down. Okay? I thought that was pretty close to in real life. You tend to stand up if you get to 70 or below. Or you can do in certain circumstances, but you're more likely to stand up at that kind of cadence. Now the threshold has changed to 80 RPM, and this might be my fault, probably is my fault actually, but that just happens to be my cadence. Now I know we're all supposed to spin along like a bloody hummingbird at 95, but I just don't do that. I grind away at 80, and I'm very happy at 80, and that is my natural cadence. Now they've changed the threshold to 80. I am up and down like a jack in the box. I mean, it's just, it was insane, this ride I did the other day. I don't know whether it was a combination of slope and cadence, but my guy was in and out, up and down like a bride tonight. It drove me insane. And I don't know whether it was particularly in workout mode. I don't know whether it was particularly because I was on a bit of a slope. I don't know. But anyway, it up and down, up and down, up and down. I could barely look at the screen. It drove me crazy. Shane, 70 sort of made sense. I'm not sure that 80 does it? As the threshold?
Spingate. Hashtag Spingate. I wonder what next week was going to be. Look, yeah, a lot of efforts at 80 RPM in the saddles. Yeah, I think 70 is about right. Maybe 70.666 or something like that. But look, we've also got the technology to know when people are standing up and sitting down on their bikes. I think look, keep it at 70, but implement something that takes into account if you've got a parameter that supports cycling dynamics, that can analyze your pedal stroke, and it does know with quite good accuracy if you're standing up or sitting down. That's what I'd like to see. I think leave that one alone, implement cycling dynamics, use that as a bit of a marketing tool that they're now integrating more with the technology we have, force trainer manufacturers to do more with the spin analysis on bikes, and then it'll just be a thing that we accept. Changing it to 80 though, yeah, as you said, it sounds like your guy needs a new saddle. He's out of it.
No, but 80 just doesn't seem right to me. I mean, Nathan, am I a solitary voice in the wilderness here?
I don't think so. I think 80 RPM. So for the longest time, 80 RPM was just kind of pretty natural to me. From indoor cycling and really working on it, and some years of just trying to get faster. I upped it to 85 to 90. And then outdoors, I tend to gain 5 to 10 RPMs even, but I don't know, like 80 RPM, I sit down plenty. I mean, maybe it's a mountain biker little thing too, because you tend to grind just a little bit more and you hit a lot more hills and changes and undulations. So, but 80, that seems that's pretty high actually. It's people between 80 and 90 RPM is just kind of a normal cadence for most people, I think.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, well, I would say 80 is a pretty average cadence. So it's like a weird number to choose as a threshold.
I want to know like what genre of cycling the person is from that decided that. That's what I want to know, because
I do too. Well, this is an awful thing to say because I can't believe it wouldn't be true, but I wonder if that decision has been taken by a person who's actually a cyclist.
Or somebody who was at Kona. I don't know.
Me, I was going to say triathlete.
There's the reality of that. They're really focused in on and it's a good thing for the sport. That's not even a critique in a bad way. Like, it's the most efficient way to pedal is 90 to 100. And efficiency is a huge thing when you're doing longer events that are super solo like that, because you don't have a lot of variations in right? Like, you're by yourself and you're cycling fast and you're going as fast as you can in a TT, essentially. That's all about steady cadence. And so I wouldn't be surprised if that was the reality of it.
Ugly rumour, isn't it? Great rumour to start. Absolutely great. Any problem in game, we can just blame triathlete coders. God, I'm going to get into trouble.
We're getting in trouble. We're getting in trouble.
Jordan Rapp is just curling over, like clenching fists right now.
Oh, no. Honestly, we do love you, triathletes. We really, really do. I mean, I don't know why you bother with that.
The bike part of triathlon is fantastic. The time trial part is fantastic.
Yeah, absolutely right. Never run unless chased, and only swim to prevent drowning. Anyway, so that was a bit of a moan. Actually, I would generally be interested in feedback on this, on Zwifcast listeners. You know, is this 80 RPM thing, standing up and sitting down, and has it bothered you? Have you even noticed it? It might have just been a rogue ride of mine, and I was just kind of hovering in that weird. It's not in a grey area, is it? In that weird kind of up-down zone the whole time. Maybe it was just me. Maybe it was a rogue. Maybe it's a bug. I don't know. Let's hear from Zwifcast listeners. Okay, well let's move on. Oh, lots of chat from us. It's about time we heard from somebody else, I think. And we're going to do that, so that's good news. We've had private meetups for a while now. This is the feature where you follow or people you follow or follow you can get together and have a ride. And jolly good that's all been. But now there's a refinement, same deal, but Zwift has added in the rubber band effect. So if you're riding with stronger mates or weaker mates, or even if you're all doing different workouts, then you stay together. Sounds good, doesn't it? Does it work? Let's find out. Well, welcome to the Zwiftcast to an IRL riding buddy of mine, Christian Nistri. Hi, Christian.
Hi, Si. How you doing?
Not bad at all, thanks, my friend. Now, the reason I've got you on is to talk about something that we've often planned to do, and you did, in fact, invite me, and sadly I couldn't make it, but that was... Not only was it a group ride, a private group ride, which has been functionality that's been around in Zwift for a while, but it's a new bit of functionality, which is, I'm not even quite sure what we call it, actually, keep together group ride or rubber banded group ride. So rather than me whitter on about that, why don't you just tell us why that appealed to you?
Yeah, so we've got a group of friends who are avid Zwifters, spread about all over the country, really. And it's a good opportunity for us to all get together and ride. We're of fairly differing abilities. So some who are much higher and find it a lot easier to be knocking out 4 watts per kilo. And I'm quite happy to potter along a little bit more at the lower end of 2.5 to 3, and thought this would be a great way that we could actually all ride together and be able to ride a course as a joined up group.
Yeah, and that's the point, isn't it? Is the joined up group for those who've not come across this bit of functionality? It's exactly as you describe. It's for a way of usually a group of mates, I think, to ride together, even if they're of differing abilities, and you can't fall off the back and you can't shoot off the front. Was it easy to set up, Christian?
Yeah, it was really easy to set up through the app. User experience was great. Select your course was really easy. Invite people who you follow or who follow you. Really, really easy. Appeared in everyone else's companion app. They could tick. I could then see who's ticked to accept. I could see that Si Schofield hadn't accepted. And I could see how many people we were expecting to come onto the ride. So yeah, really good.
Excellent. And your brother was on this, wasn't it? Who you tried to ride with in real life as much as possible.
Yeah, exactly. So that was great. He lives down south in Tunbridge Wells. I'm in Leeds. It's a great way for us to be able to ride together and still be able to do our own thing effectively within the ride itself. Yeah,
well, easy setup. I mean, that is such an important thing. So that sounds like a big tick in that box. So on the how did it go box, is there a tick there?
Yes, I think overall, yes, a big tick. It went really well, really fun to have everyone together. There were a couple of glitches, which could touch upon later, but we all stayed together. The hour ride went by really quickly. We all kind of did our own thing. So, for example, I did something simple like 2 20-minute efforts with a little bit of a break in between, and others were riding hard for certain sections of the route. We did a bit up the Epic Com, so people were able to push a little bit harder up there. But ultimately, we all kept as a group and were able to sort of chat and communicate with each other as well.
Excellent. And what's the chat mechanism? Is that in game?
Yes, it is in game. It's in the app. So that was one of the things that just was a little bit glitchy. My app kept reverting sort of the non-ride mode. And then when I went into the group messages for our specific group, it looked like we got mixed in with like a Polish ride that was happening at the same time.
So that could be confusing.
Yeah, we could see their messages as well. But ultimately, I was the ride leader. My messages appeared on everyone's screen in the center, as you would expect for a ride leader on a group ride. And we were all able to, just share our days, have a bit of chat. It was the day that the Tour de France route came out, so that's another topic of conversation.
Excellent. And I mean, it sounds like the whole group enjoyed it by the sounds of things.
Yeah, absolutely. I think I've got one friend who's particularly competitive who found the climbing speeds up the comm a bit frustrating because he ended up going a bit slower than he usually would for his standard power output. But it was just nice to be all riding together. It was a really, really positive experience.
As you say, you're an experienced Zwifter, experienced outside rider. I think it'd be great to hear what you felt could be improved on with this bit of functionality.
Keeping everyone together again was brilliant. That was great. The app that I mentioned earlier, there were some glitches, I think, there in the app and how the group ride messages worked. And then I think there's just some tweaks that needed doing to the physics of it. So, for example, on the descents, because you have this rubber band effect, if you're at the back, you kind of get slung-shot forward towards the rest of the group. On the descents, that effect is magnified quite a lot, so you end up sort of this slightly unrealistic fling through the peloton that you're riding with. So you go straight through off the front. And then the only other aspect was a friend who stayed on at the end, and he felt that he was the last one riding and felt that he was still benefiting from the group draft effect. So messaged me afterwards to say I was tapping along at 2 watts per kilo, doing about 40 kilometers per hour. So it was passing others who were putting out a higher effort level.
That is interesting. So if you set up a group ride and nobody else comes and you're on it, you could get all kinds of comms.
Yeah, possibly. Well, we did get a comm in the actual ride itself, actually, going through Sequoia Forest. So it felt a little bit like there was a kind of an aggregation of power from our group as a whole, because then having looked back on the leaderboard, we weren't sort of knocking out the power that other people who were previously on the leaderboard had been doing. So, we did get that one comm coming through Sequoia Forest.
Mm-hmm. Well, it's always good to get a comm.
Yeah, absolutely.
So, acid test question, and I'll ask you to speak on behalf of the group. No doubt there was a bit of chat about it afterwards. Would you do it again? Yes,
absolutely. Really good. And I think having done the first one, we've learned more about the functionality and how it works. It's really key for everyone to be sort of expecting how the ride is going to work. So it works best, I think, as part of a structured workout. So if we can all do our own thing effectively, but we're all sharing a conversation at the same time. So we're all Zwifting together, but we're all doing maybe slightly different training approaches. And as long as everyone knows that that's how it's going to work, it's absolutely spot on.
Brilliant. Oh, that's a great review, Christian. Very, very thoughtful. Thanks very much for that. Glad you enjoyed it. I'll definitely try and get on the next one, mate. I promise.
Cool. Thanks very much. Look forward to it.
And thanks for being on the Zwiftcast.
Cool. No, thanks for the invite, Si.
We've had a bit of a pop at Zwift with a couple of things this episode, but actually this feature is fantastic. I mean, Christian and his mates, my mates, actually, a lot of them thought it was great. Shane, I think it's a corking feature, this, isn't it?
So what you're telling me is I could run an event and I ride the mountain bike and my friends ride the road bike and I can tow them around the jungle and we stay together at my pace. I think we've just found a hole in the system to set some KOMs here. Yeah, look, I think it's a good idea. I really think that I'm from the thought process that Zwift should build the reality and people, the community, us, come along and use it and invite our friends along like we did back in the old days when Zwift was 10 employees and it was still in beta and we got all our friends on it and we rode and we had a great time. Anything that can promote that back to the grassroots of what grew Zwift into what Zwift is today, fantastic. And if that is, we can spin up our own events, invite our friends, go for a ride, share that experience. I'm not saying it's going to replace outdoor cycling, but we can gather people around. Maybe we have a Zwiftcast ride one day if we can spin one of those up. Yeah, That's super cool. So yeah, I'm all for these new features that change the gameplay experience.
I completely agree. And I mean, the best thing about this is you can do your own ride within the group. I mean, and Nathan, I know you stream a lot of your training rides. I would imagine this would be fantastic for that.
Yeah, this changes things. I was actually asking for this feature a few weeks back, like, oh, I really wish we had this at this point, and boom, there it is. But specifically because I started training for 2020, I'm streaming it, and I want people to just join in with the workout with me, and they can then follow along. We have FTL, faster than light, streaming on mixers, which means it's sub 1 second. You see the stream within 1 second. So like coach strides, if you're doing a live stream on Mixer, bam, you've got Peloton on Zwift essentially. Like, and people can just, hey, follow me on the app and join me for my rides. They set it up, and next thing you know, you're coaching all of your athletes, and they're following you and having to do what you're doing. Like, and you all stick together. That was the main thing when I was getting together for these rides like this. If I didn't have a workout event, then we would all separate, you know what I mean? And then it's kind of like, well, I'm not really riding with you. And it gets, you know what I mean? So that whole part of it is definitely really cool that you can rubber band that together. There are obviously a couple of holes in the system, like you said, though, that, you know, you just jump in with somebody who's like crazy fast and you're setting new PBs. But I mean, there's also that reality in events though, too. So, you know, I think it's a great feature, and I'm going to be using it now and for the Go Gara ride. So. Good deal.
Yeah, I think it's an absolutely fantastic feature, and I speak slightly from a position of ignorance because I've not set one up. I'm actually doing one tonight. Actually, after I get the Zwiftcast edited, I'm doing one of these rides with this very group actually that we just heard from tonight. So I speak slightly from a position of ignorance, but I do wish there was just a bit more of a simple mechanism of inviting people. So if there was like, I don't know, a shareable link that you could ping out on email on one of your other, you know, millions of channels, and, you know, this is my ride tonight, click on this link to join it. I sort of wish that was there, Shane.
Oh, absolutely. And we can hook that in with an Amazon affiliate and get a few dollars out of it when they next purchase toilet paper. I'm all for it.
Anyway, that's carping criticism, because that really, really is a good feature. Okay, well, there's been a lot of chat about Zwift, hasn't there? But I sort of guess that's why we're here, really. So let's finish off in the same manner. In John's forum post, the one about Dirt Gaze, I mean, that was mainly about Rumble in the Jungle, but he did, as he often does, drop a little nugget or two extra. I want to thank the community for all, this is John speaking, I want to thank the community for all the feedback on the steering test we launched earlier this month. While the early skeptics were certainly vocal about it, blah, 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 in the end, we've had almost 20,000 test rides fully completed, start to finish, and overwhelmingly positive feedback. What was meant to be a low-volume test, I think it could end up as a permanent addition to Watopia in the future. That's real news, boys. That's a real Zwift news. Permanent addition to Watopia in the future. And maybe a whole network of single-track trails can spread through the wilderness of Watopia one day. Nathan, that probably excites you greatly, doesn't it?
I think it's amazing. Like I was riding. Okay, I had a little bit of feedback to give on a few of those lines. Like who was writing, who was making those lines about how we were. I was like trying to do what I usually do on the mountain bike. You go wide and cut short, and it was like making me cut short and go. And I would get it. So I was like, fine, I'll get the stars the way that they want me to get the stars. But like that, I absolutely love that. The other thing, I was starting to feel like Mario Kart too at the same time. I think the mountain bike maybe and the steering starts bringing in some of these, because like you had to hit certain lanes and those lanes gave you reward and speed, right? Same thing like with Mario Kart. You hit a certain lane, you get the little question mark box, it flicks around and says, hey, you got this thing. Like really cool feature. It's a little bit more gamified. I think mountain biking in general is a little bit more gamified. You're threading the needle through trees like crazy. I guess, I don't know, that's a bias probably. Somebody would say no, pack riding and a crit is probably just as, but I absolutely loved it. And I would think it'd be so cool to find different ways to like travel from one section to another section of Watopia, and very motivating then to ride more and then like, oh, I'm going to go check this out. There's a shortcut then through, you know what I mean? Like, they would be really cool if they were shortcuts, portals to different areas you want to go to, but it was like a skills test at the same time. Really cool ideas there. I mean, I think, you know, they probably got 1 million of those right now that they're testing out and thinking of throwing out there. So very exciting to me.
Yeah, shortcuts is a good idea. I don't know whether you know this, but do you know IKEA is full of shortcuts? You know IKEA, that dreadful, dreadful place you have to go to.
You get stuck in there. It's like a bird cage you can never get out of.
Yeah, but do you know the
you're
place is
supposed to
full of
read the
shortcuts?
directions. That's why.
No.
No one reads the manual.
Wanting you to go. That's like the long way round where you walk past every single product in the whole damn store. There are shortcuts. If you look really carefully in IKEA, you can get from one part to another really quickly. Anyway,
is there a YouTube channel on this? There's got to be.
What is this IKEA?
Completely beside the point.
What, are you shopping for furniture right now, or like what is going on?
Well, I have been known to have been dragged around IKEA from time to time. I was just so pleased to find out there were shortcuts, and I thought other people might not know that. So there you go. It's public service announcement. Shane, I know numbers excite you. 20,000 completed rides. Well, of course, we don't know how many subscribers Zwifter's got, but I'm kind of guessing that is possibly around about 10%, maybe. Roughly.
Okay, closing the loop on the IKEA thing. IKEA is a great place to get yourself a Lazy Susan, which is going to help you out for the steering course. You prop your front wheel up, put it on a little bit of angle, which matches your head tube angle so the bike doesn't want to creep forward, and away you go. So follow Simon's advice and get yourself into IKEA and out quickly with a cheap Lazy Susan. Links below. No, only kidding. I'm surprised at, the numbers there, given it's kind of hidden away. It's on Titans Grove. Most people would just jump on and click ride and go. And a lot of the time,
you think that's a big number?
I do. And it's actually quite difficult. I don't know how I fluked it the first time. I got in and under, is it 9 minutes 20, 9 minutes 30 plus 9 stars? I think I had everything set up optimally. The second time, hell no, I did not pass go at all. I like it. I'm waiting for further gravel tracks and just some more freedom in game so you can choose. And as what we've seen with the guest world, giving people more choice is okay now. There's enough numbers on there. There's enough events, different bikes and things like that. People get to choose their own favorites. And if we can appeal to a little bit more, a different crowd, maybe some single trail, some single track, that'll be heaps of fun. And it will allow people a small sense of escapism as well. If you're just a roadie like us, Simon, looking at you, Nathan, we can jump on and experience mountain biking for once, just in a playful environment, or some gravel riding, and maybe just like get a little bit of spark, like the new toy. I'm all for it. New gameplay, in-game experience. I like it.
Yeah. Well, the Zwiftcast seal of approval. No doubt John will sleep much easier in his bed tonight knowing he's got that.
Did you sense some surprise at 20,000? I did in that. And I think it was a test to their own talking point that people just want to get on and do their workout. That's all they want to do. And 20,000 says, no, I don't think people anymore, at least there's a big chunk of them, that they'll go out of their way because it was difficult to get to. Not a lot of people, you had to read the Zwift Insider thing to even know how to get there, it seemed like, for most people.
And subscribe to a certain YouTube channel. Come on.
Oh yeah, then there's there's the llama.
That guy.
That guy. I don't know what he's up to. Anyways, no, we had you guys. We actually had you up.
Hang on, let me interject here. Not that I'm any kind of expert statistician, but you know what? 20,000 completed rides could be 1,000 people completing it 20 times.
20 times? That's a lot.
Mountain bikers. You're right.
That is true. Hang
on, now we've angered mountain bikers and triathletes this episode. Gosh. Oh, no.
I know.
I'm going
silly hairy leg guys, dude. Shave your legs, people.
I think we've just alienated about a third of the audience. I'm really sorry.
20,000 of them, or 1,000.
I've had a few quips with people inside Zwift about whether or not you should be shaving your legs except for outside of competition, actually.
Always.
Like, it's just for competition. Man, it's just for showing off for the photos. That's all it's for.
Let's not get into that. Okay, well, talking about shaved legs, let's have our once an episode obligatory short discussion about esports. This was a real under the radar thing, deliberately so, said Zwift. They called it a test and learn esports event, and it was at the London 6-day track meet. This saw a number of Zwift races take place in Track Centre. Wow. the feedback on Twitter was brutal. I know a few loudmouths can make these things seem a lot worse than they are, or they can make criticism seem disproportionate. But the Twitter sphere was not a comfortable place for those involved in Zwift esports. I mean, Nathan, it was such a hostile response. I guess the crowd had paid to see Mark Cavendish and Viviani and Caleb Ewan race around the track. That's what they paid for. That was what the expectation was. Maybe they hadn't paid to watch unknowns ride spin bikes, as one particularly vicious tweet had it. Was this a good move by Zwift? I mean, it was experimental, it was test and learn, but to put Zwift esports in direct proximity with, with the most traditional of disciplines, track racing, was that a good idea?
Well, in hindsight, 2020. Growing a sport is, I think, what esport needs to be about. I would have probably done it. That sounds like a cool idea. Yeah, we're in amongst cyclists, but in hindsight, looking at it, it's like, these people didn't pay to see this, like you said, and we just pretty much. One of the responses is like, why am I watching a Zwift commercial? Like, people felt like it was just a commercial for something, and with Vision Cycling, when we were trying to grow the sport of mountain biking, because we have, like, in the USA, it's small and it's really hard to, like. That's why NICA exists. It's a National Interscholastic Cycling Association. They're getting mountain biking into high schools. They're doing a great job of it. It's local infrastructure, local mentors, and a rhythm of doing it over and over again. And the sport exists in houses with people who are the community. And I think that needs to grow, and that people who Zwift will watch Zwift, and that's their sport. It's its own genre. And it's like, it just doesn't mesh and then second of all, it doesn't mesh as well, obviously, with the outdoor cycling genres. We've already seen that. So it's it is really kind of standalone. And you can get a lot of people who watch road to kind of watch cyclocross, but there isn't always a lot of crossover. And then people who watch road to watch mountain bike is another leap. And so you don't just you don't mix the other genres together like that. Why would we mix this genre like that? So
that's a good point. I mean, Shane, when Zwift met Track, if that had been a first date, I don't think they exchanged telephone numbers at the end, did they?
Look, I think, to talk in analogies, it would be a bold move to go to a Steam rally and try and sell Tesla cars. I'll leave it at that.
Yeah, good. Very good analogy. Okay, well, it's November, believe it or not, in a day or two, and I think we'll be on a fairly regular roughly monthly update cycle now for the Zwift game. In my interview with John earlier this year, he did say that a wholesale UI update was a coming. Do you think that's something we're going to see sooner rather than later in the indoor cycling season? It kind of makes sense if we're going to change the way the game looks or Long Beach are, that we see that sooner rather than later, I think. Yeah,
I would think so. I think a UI update right now would be really, really great as all the users. Okay, so we had Fusion Esports first, World of Fusion. It's a series we're doing in the community. We almost, quadrupled our numbers. Like, I think people are jumping on right now, and it would be really cool to have something fresh and new to look at as a whole. Can I go back? I want to say one thing though about the track event and what happened there. There was one more thing that I think is really important, because the benefit there of the doubt and the positive that was pulled away was when people are coming for Zwift, it's amazing. And I think the idea was to throw a party like they did it at Yorkshire, and like with these crank it up, the Wahoo crank it up stuff. Like whenever you go and people show up for Zwift, it's an awesome party and it's like woohoo and all of that. I think it was the wrong expectation. That's all. So I wanted to make sure that we touched on like, hey, we've seen it work in these kinds of environments when people are there specifically. Oh, Zwift, you know what I mean? And it's people who like it. So anyways.
No, it's a good point. It is a good point, but as Shane so pithily put it, don't bring a Tesla to a steam rally. So, maybe if we're having a Tesla rally, let's have Teslas there. Shane, the number one thing you'd like to see in a new UI, and I'm not prepared to accept this text moved from the middle of the screen to the bottom of the screen, because we know you want that. So what would be the next thing that you'd want in a UI?
Well, first up, and I've been pulled up on this on my own podcast, is defining what we mean when we speak in codes. UI, it's the user interface. That's what UI stands for.
How the game looks. Yeah.
So, look, it's definitely due for a refresh. If you go back to John Mayfield's personal YouTube channel, if you do a bit of Google ninjaing, you'll find it. Zwift looks very similar still. There's some characteristics there. And it's been brought forward and fixed a little bit, and it just doesn't quite fit on the screen now if you've got a Tax Neo with the Road Rumble feel and this and that. So look, I will welcome anything that doesn't involve me putting my Apple TV remote through the window. That's all I'll say. And being able to clean up the screen as well, so being able to take off the menus and stuff.
You've only got to pick up the Apple TV remote to want to put it through the window. I mean, that is honest. I mean,
it's a big task ahead for them. It's a big task.
I really do, and I'd even go so far as to say I like a lot of Apple products and may own a few of them, but that Apple TV remote.
The first time I picked it up, I was like, do you use this for anything? Like interacting with Zwift was impossible. I was like, how do you use this just to use the TV? Like, this thing is like bad. Anyways.
It's not that bad on the TV, but on Zwift, it's a nightmare. Anyway, okay, well, that's it. God, we've moaned a lot.
Yeah, why are we complaining
we've
so
laughed
much?
a lot too. We've laughed a lot.
It's snowing here. That's the problem.
And I'm too hot.
Yeah, well, that's it. New UI user interface, which is the way the game looks. I think that will come quite soon in the season if listeners are interested, in my opinion. Okay, so that's it, boys. Another one has flown by, flashed past. We seem to have managed to upset at least a third of the listenership, hacked off every triathlete who will listen to the podcast. I'm very sorry. We love you, triathletes. We really, really do. We do. Honestly, we do. Any other business? Shane, what's your next video, mate?
I wasn't going to make any correlation there between triathletes being the Apple TV remote of the cycling world. No. Look, we're just having a bit of fun. Look, this week it is sunshine and like sheep and flowers and outside rides. So there's power meters, which do directly relate to what I'm testing indoors. I'm always on at really weird times of the day testing as well. So if you see me online, I'll be doing a llama lab test, putting things through their paces. And if I do sprint off on you, it's just my over and unders. I'm not trying to outsprint you. Other than that, same old.
Have you done the main bulk of your testing with the smart bikes now?
I have, with the ones that have been released. That's the Tax Bike. I still need to get my hands again on the Wattbike Atom for the new firmware, because the Wattbike Atom has a new release. This is really weird, just again, a bit of a rabbit hole. They've backtracked and given you, rather than 22 gears, they're giving us 11 now. But it makes more sense because the gaps are easier to click through, because the Wattbike doesn't have the big ring, small ring virtualization. So I'm keen to give that a shot for Zwift, because that exactly is going to address one of the issues I had with Zwift. So lots of time on those bikes, but again, lots of time outdoors because that sun is shining.
Well, you've been cooped up all winter, haven't you?
Of
course, you're in upside down land. So who could blame you for wanting to get out, get some fresh air? Nathan, the opposite, I'm guessing, for you, mate, with the snows coming in the Midwest. So a big emphasis on streaming your training rides back to basics, back to where it all started for you?
Yeah, a little bit. There's been an uptick of Go Gara rides, so we've been doing that. And got to start with strength, though, so we're in the weight room, which is good.
Big checks from Microsoft for Mixer, I'm sure.
Yeah, I mean, and so there's a lot going on there where we're going to have a lot of focus on some Mixer stuff actually in the coming month or two, because the platform's just booming. Then we're focusing in on some community racing, and that's going to be growing slowly and steadily. And World of the Fusion is the main focus right now. I'd also be, I don't think I can say too much just yet, but there is going to be some really cool North American focused community stuff for all categories. So it's going to be a lot of fun to be doing that stuff. So yeah, that's what's coming up.
Yeah, excellent. Okay, well, as ever, thank you very much indeed for your time and for your opinions, which are always welcome, not only by me but by the entire Zwiftcast listenership. It's been a pleasure. I'll see you next time. Thanks very much. Enjoy your cycling, and goodbye.
Cheers.
Happy Halloween.
And there goes episode 71. Thank you very much indeed for listening. Just the usual housekeeping announcements. Whilst we are incredibly grateful for the continuing support of Zwift to the podcast, which enables us to publish regularly, nothing that we say is in any way influenced by Zwift. We decide what goes in the Zwiftcast, not Zwift. Thanks again for listening. See you next time.